Thank you so much for coming on, Tom. It's an honor to get to talk to you today.
The honor is mine, Lucas.
Thank you very much. So I guess the best place to start, as with anything, is when did you begin your stand-up comedy career?
You mean officially?
Yes, 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 officially.
My first show was at my college. It was my senior year. I entered a talent show for the Muscular Dystrophy Association. We had a whole weekend dedicated to raising money for the MDA. So there
Oh.
was a dance-a-thon. There was a race, a running race. I wasn't going to do that. But I had recently run for president of the student body and I lost. So all leading up to that, I was presenting myself as a goody two shoes. I was in the library every night, never partied in front of people. And then once I lost the election, I thought, what the hell, all bets are off. So I wrote 7 minutes just eviscerating the faculty, the fraternities, the
Wow.
administration, everything. And I did it. I was disqualified because I used some salty language. But for the next 2 weeks around campus, I got high fives from people who didn't know I existed until then. So I was like, wow, I kind of like this feedback. So that was the first taste I had. And then when I graduated college, I was a cop for a while. And then I came back to the mainland. I was a cop on Nantucket, not a lot of crime. So I came back to the mainland because I wanted to pursue comedy, not a thriving comedy market out in Nantucket. So I came back to the States and became a private investigator, which allowed me to do that during the day and then do open mics at night. So I started going up to Boston to do open mic nights, and I started in Providence, Rhode Island. There was one that was kind of my home club, and then did my first open mic night. It failed miserably. 2 out of my 10 jokes went over. The other 8 crashed and burned horribly. So I ran away for a while, and about I don't know 5, 6 months later, I said, "What the hell? I'll try it again." Came back, did it again, and now 2 more jokes worked. So now I had 4 jokes that worked. So then that was the thing that I built upon, and here we are almost 40 years later.
Yeah. Did you start with because you have a very different style from most comedians that are, that you see normally. Did you start with that style that you have now, or was that slowly developing as you went on?
Well, yeah, what I do, people have labeled it misdirection, and it's weird. I do one-liners kind of, but I string them together into a story, and each one-liner has a tagline that takes it in a different direction. So it's very weird, and I should donate my brain to science because there's clearly something wrong up there. But yeah, so with misdirection, it's not setup and punchline, which is your normal joke. It's setup, punchline, tagline, 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 and each tagline is a different curveball. It's innuendo, double entendre, a pun, something silly like that. And it's fun to put it all together. It's almost like a Rubik's Cube. It's a challenge. It's harder to write than normal comedy. But
Yeah.
when I started in Boston, the godfather of Boston comedy was a guy named Don Gavin, and he was the master at it. He was the best at it. I don't bat an eye when I say he was the guy I emulated the most. But Wendy Liebman was also in Boston at that time. She does something very similar. Brian Kiley does something very similar. Great. He's the head writer for Conan, has been for
Hmm.
20
All
years.
right.
So these are all people who do misdirection. A lot of comics have it. My wife has a comic. She does some in her act. But mine is overloaded with it. It's almost to like a psychotic level, and I should really see someone about it.
So you did you develop this after seeing all those comedians, or did you have an idea about it first and then use those other comedians as a jumping off point?
I'll turn this around. Have you ever tried stand up, Lucas?
No, I have not.
No. Okay. Well, if you did, what would happen was you would kind of mirror what you do behind your favorite comedians.
Mhm.
And so there was a guy named Kevin Knox in Boston at the time who I loved. He had a mullet. He wore a sweatsuit, and women threw themselves at him. But he was so funny that that's the guy I wanted to be. So I mirrored myself to him. And then eventually, like all comics, you kind of find your own way.
Right.
And so Don Gavin is great. He's the master at what he does because he does the misdirection thing, but he does it with a thick Boston accent and a great attitude. And, I don't have the Boston accent. So I had to kind of move my stuff. So obviously my material is different, but the style is similar to Kylie and Liebman and all these people who do it. Um, and so it just kind of found me, and I found it, and it's what I like to write. It's again a challenge. It's like a puzzle piece. You sit down with one of these, and you're like, where's this going? And you have no idea where it's going to end.
Yeah.
So it's more fun than anybody can write regular stand up. And I'm not belittling that. It's great. I love regular stand up. I kind of like the wordplay and the misdirection and the puns and the innuendo and the double entendre and all that stuff sewn together.
Yeah. You've talked a few times now about the writing process of your style. How do you approach these jokes that you tell?
Well, I used to carry around a pad all the time. It was a maxi pad, and I really had no excuse for that. But no, I used to carry around a pad in my pocket, a small one. And then the iPhone came around. I'm showing my age. And then now I just dictate into this. And so now, constantly, no matter what goes on during the day, if something strikes me as the atom that can become a comedy bit, or the acorn that'll become the mighty oak tree of a comedy bit, I write it down, or I put it in here. And so you could see as sorry, do this. These are all practice recordings. This is me
Wow.
doing it
Yeah.
by rote, and it's just all bits that I've got to chisel because there's so much memorization involved.
Yeah.
And I played contact sports when I was a kid. I had many concussions, and B, I enjoy marijuana on occasion, which is also not a good aid to your memory. So I have to write this stuff down because if I don't, an hour later, I'm like, what was that thing? It was so funny. It could have been the best bit ever, and I didn't write it down. So it is disconcerting. And it might happen during this conversation, Lucas, is if something strikes me, I will divorce myself from whatever conversation I'm in and write it down or dictate it into my phone. And people are like, what are you doing? I'm like, it's work. I got to do it. If I don't, I'll forget it and it'll go away.
All right. I'll keep that in mind if it ever happens today.
I'm not being rude. I'm
No,
just,
I believe
doing work.
you. And on your first, we're gonna move into season 7 of America's Got Talent. On that first audition, you said that comedians don't normally do well on a show like this, but you believe that your act was so different and your style was so different that you would do well, and obviously you ended up doing very well. Where does that confidence in your ability come from?
I love that I snowed you and led you to believe that I was confident. I was not, and I'll tell you why. Because until my season judges, season 7, my first appearance on the show, my judges were Sharon Osbourne, the wife of the Prince of Darkness,
Yeah.
Ozzy Osbourne, Howie Mandel, a comic, and Howard Stern, basically a comedian. So I figured that was a good judges panel. Before those 3 judges were in place, Howard Stern replaced Pierce Morgan. And Pierce Morgan might be a great journalist, but he hated American comics. And we watched all 6 seasons leading up to it. It was a great family show. We watched it with our kids. And my wife and I would be like, oh my God, Pierce Morgan is such a dick. I mean, yeah, he had a stick surgically implanted in his butt when he was a child, I think, and he just did not laugh at American humor. And he would eviscerate these comedians, some of them whom I knew, on live television. And I'd be like, I'm not going on there. I'm not going to let this British douchebag make fun of me in front of all these people because he's pissed that we won the Revolutionary War 200 years ago. So when he left and Howard came in, everybody called me. My phone rang off the hook. It was club owners, managers, agents, everybody I'd worked with, festival organizers, other comics said, now's your time. You got to get on the show because they knew they only gave me 90 seconds on that show. You only get 90 seconds to perform my season. Now it's 2 minutes. But 90 seconds, whether it's 90 seconds or, a minute 20, it's still not a lot of time. But they knew that my act is built such that, and Wendy Liebman went on the show the year after me because it's built for her too. Misdirection comics can get a lot of comedy into 90 seconds.
Yeah.
Whereas my wife, who's a storyteller, it takes her 10 minutes to say hello to the audience, So I'm already 6 jokes deep. Everyone called and said, you got to go on the show. You got to do it. So I figured I'm not getting any younger. I might as well do it. If ever there was a judges panel that was favorable to comedians, it's Howard Stern, Sharon Osbourne, and Howie Mandel. So I went on the show, and it went reasonably well. Although I did lose to a dog act. Let's not lose track of that.
I was not going to bring it up too harshly or too soon, but I guess
Everyone does. I can't get away from it. I called my wife from the road last week and I said, "What's the weather like back in New York?" And she said, "It's raining cats and talent show champions," which is mean and not necessary and a violation of the Geneva Convention, I believe. But anyway, yes, so I'll never get over that. It's fine. I'll take the silver medal. I wish I took the silver medal to a human, but I will take it nonetheless. When you come in second to a dog act, you do feel like number two. I will tell you that.
So since we're there already, obviously, you play second to a dog act, whatever, but you still, I, you got all that exposure from, and even being on a show like that once, let alone making it all the way to the finals. How did that affect your career after that point?
It was huge, and I'll tell you why. I was just very lucky. I stepped in leprechaun poop that year because NBC had the Olympics on that summer too. So
Mm.
AGT and the Olympics were on at the same time. We actually had to go on hiatus for 2 weeks during the Olympics, the
Oh
AGT
yeah.
thing, but they promoted it all during the Olympics. So we got, plus you had Howard Stern and all his followers jumped on board. The amount of eyeballs we had, the ratings were through the roof. We had shattered records. Our worst rating was 13 million, and that was for a rerun. Where
Jeez.
I've done, we all do late night. I've done Leno and Ferguson and Kilborn and all those guys, the late night shows,
Mm.
Conan. When you do those, it's 5 million people. You're lucky to have 5 million. These are Nielsen stats. 5 million people watching you. And those 5 million people, yes, they're naked, but they're half asleep. They're not really into you. They're in bed, they're falling asleep. The comedian's always the third act on all those shows. So the amount of exposure you get from a primetime network television like AGT, people are awake, alive, engaged, and that show, they really hook themselves to whatever act they like, and then they follow you. And God bless these people. They've been following me for 20 years now. It's been 13 years since my season,
Yeah.
and then add into that, uh, I've been back. I've been back as a guest performer a few times, and then I did AGT Champions, which now they call All Stars, all that stuff. So that following has been very loyal to me. It puts a lot of butts in seats at theaters and clubs for me, and I'm forever indebted. I make fun of the show sometimes, but it's the best thing that ever happened to me, and I will always be indebted to Simon Cowell. His company is Psycho, it's called, and they're the company behind it, and Fremantle, which is the company that owns all the game shows, because it's technically a game show.
Yeah.
So to those two companies, I yield and I thank them because that put my kids through college, and it moved me. We used to hate sitcoms. We used to love sitcoms, and then sitcoms kind of went away because the reality shows came in and took over those primetime spots. So now I'm sleeping with the enemy. Now my career is made on a reality show. But you got to do what you got to do, and no one was begging me to be on their sitcom, so I'm glad I did the show. And in retrospect, it was the best move I ever made.
Mm. At that point on season 7, you had done comedy for 23 years in a row. Was a show like that always the goal for you, or were you just gonna, if
No.
you didn't want to go on that, what was the plan?
I got into comedy to chase skirt, basically. I was right out of college. I wanted, something to have fun doing. I didn't know it would ever be a career. I told my dad I was going to go to law school. I was pre-law. I clerked for a judge. I was a cop on Nantucket for that. And I did all this because I knew I wanted to be a lawyer. And then I told my dad I just got to get this comedy thing out of my system, and that was 35 years ago. So it's terminal. It never gets out of your system. And I'm very happy that I did this because I have friends who are lawyers that hate their jobs. Yes, they have a nice BMW and a white picket fence in the burbs, but I like my life, and I'm glad I chose this path. It beats working.
I bet. And you've talked about your wife multiple times, who is also a comedian. And I know this may sound like a setup for you to tell some of your jokes, but I am curious. What is life like living with another comedian?
It's great. She really is a friend as much as a fellow comedian and a spouse. and we're celebrating 25 years of wedded bliss this June. And
Wow.
so obviously it's working for us. We were together for
Yep.
6 years before we got married, so we've been together for a long time, more than half my life. And it's interesting. People think that they have this idea in their head like Burns and Allen or Lucy and Desi. You're too young for this, but those are the big husband-wife comedy teams of the time, Nichols and May. They think that we are constantly on and we're always uh, funny and we're always trying to one-up each other. Not the case. We like to get away from it when we're at home. Our kids usually are funnier than we are in the house. But yeah, it's great. She'll throw me a joke every once in a while. I'll throw her a joke. I'll say, hey, this works well with this bit you do. I thought of it. It's not right for me. It's for you. And she does the same thing back for me. So we're each other's cheerleaders. When we moved to New York together in 1996, we it was tough because we lived together and the phone would ring for her sometimes and not me.
Hmm.
And then the phone would ring for me sometimes and not her. And that was weird. But then once we got married, even before we got married, we realized we're not in competition. If they're looking for a funny female, they're not knocking on my door. And if they're looking for a funny short white dude from Boston, they're not knocking on her door. So we realized that all the money goes in the same account, and I couldn't be more of a cheerleader for her, and I feel like she does the same for me, and it works out for us. I love her dearly.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's great. Congratulations on almost 25 years. That's incredible.
In a row.
In a row, yes. Just to stay on that topic a little more, you did talk about, sharing jokes with each other. Do you help write entire routines, or is it just like, hey, this might be a good punchline or something like that?
I'm more of my jokes, we call them throwaways. Here's a throwaway. It's like a tagline to a joke that she already has. And again, it's difficult because we do a comedy team thing on occasion. We have
Hmm.
videos online you can see where we do the George Burns and Gracie Allen and the Lucy and Desi thing, and it's difficult because our styles are so different. She is a storyteller, a very funny storyteller, but she tells these long stories that have a great punchline at the end, a great payoff, and I'm a one-liner guy. And so to merge those two techniques, those two styles of comedy is not easy. So when we do the comedy team thing, we have to, I have to accommodate her writing style, she has to accommodate mine, and we have to try to make it all work. And that becomes another puzzle piece that we get to work on. But we like doing it. So to your question, like she doesn't write me whole bits, but she'll say, "Hey, I thought of this great segue that'll get you into that bit," or I thought of this great line you could say at the very end, the final tag to that bit, and I'll do the same for her. And yeah, it seems to work for us.
Yeah.
Oftentimes, what she'll offer me ends up in the dumpster, and same for the stuff I offer her. But at least we're thinking of each other and trying
Yeah.
to help each other out.
Yeah, that's great. So we're at the most selfish part of this interview. I was wondering if you wouldn't mind telling me some of your favorite jokes that you've come up with.
I've come up with.
Yeah.
Uh, well, one of my first ones that I don't do anymore. I could tell it as a younger man. I don't think it's kind of creepy now. I One of my earliest jokes was I said I went to go see my little niece's tap dance recital and I got thrown out. Apparently, you're not supposed to stuff the dollar bills in the leotards, but she was really good, and so that worked better as a younger man.
Yeah,
But now as
maybe.
a father, it's a little disturbing. So I don't do that anymore. I the most viral video I have is the comparison between "Baby It's Cold Outside"
Oh
and
yeah.
"WAP," and that has gone. That's been my best video. Knock wood. I've had a lot of lucky videos go viral on social media, but that one in particular has struck a nerve with a lot of people. So every year I have a social media goddess that puts out all my stuff because I'm old and stupid and I don't know when to post, and she does all that stuff for us. She works for my wife as well. She's awesome. Courtney Pasikoff is her name, and she'll post a different version of that, me doing it somewhere else once a year, and instantly it's so that's a good bit for me. Um, yeah, I do a lot of wordplay. So although I love wordplay, my mom was an English major, and I grew up in a house where you had to speak correctly or you were uh, verbally abused. So I took that a little with me. My mom's no longer with us, and I just like that I kind of uh, use the English language in my humor as much as I do, kind of as a tip of the cap to my mom and an homage to my mom.
That's really sweet. Well,
Well,
we're
she wouldn't think so if she heard the words I was using, but at least it's correct pronunciation, punctuation, verbiage, etc.
yeah. Well, we're getting close to the end. I have one final question. With everyone, you've already talked about some of your inspirations, but with everyone in a creative field, they tend to have their favorites. I'm curious for you, Tom Cotter, who are your top five favorite comedians?
Ooh, wow, that's tough. Well, to remain happily married, I will say my wife.
All right.
But I will tell you, when I was growing up, which was long ago, way before you were even a twinkle in your mother's eye, the comedians I listened to, and I wasn't allowed to, so I was definitely breaking the rules, were George Carlin and Richard Pryor. I had their albums when I was a kid. Albums were these things we used to listen to back in the day.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they were plastic and you put them on a turntable. Anyway, I had those. So those two were big. I loved Rodney Dangerfield from the first time I saw him on the Johnny Carson Tonight Show. Buddy Hackett, believe it or not, made me laugh a lot when I was a kid. And I loved Carson. I loved when I was a good kid, which was so rare. My parents would let me stay up at night and watch Johnny's monologue, which was usually the
Oh.
first 10 minutes of the show. And they usually had been drinking a little bit, so sometimes they'd fall asleep and I'd get to watch the whole show. And the
Oh.
comedian was usually the second or third act. So I would be in hog heaven watching those guys. More contemporary guys, people who are no longer with us, two friends of mine, Greg Giraldo and Vic Henley, both went to heaven way sooner than they should have. Both genius comedians. I mean, both of them. People should Google them if they haven't. Don Gavin is the guy I looked up to in Boston. He was the guy I kind of emulated my act after. If people haven't seen him, Google him. So funny. And then, yeah, I really like Attell. Nick DiPaolo makes me laugh. I think he's gotten a little. I'm more conservative than most comedians, but he's very conservative. I mean, he's kind of scared away a lot of his following. But yeah, funny's funny, and the dude is funny. I got to call a spade a spade. And then, uh, I like Bill Maher. I like watching his show every once in a while. He kind of makes me laugh and kind of pokes the bear a little bit, which I kind of like.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's so many out there that I really adore. Of the new comedy gunslingers that are coming up. Norman, what's his name? There's a guy. He's very funny. I don't know, there's a lot of people. A lot of people I really like.
Sure.
I think I've given you five or six there. I think you got more than you
Maybe.
needed. Anyway, sorry.
No, that's all right.
I have
Um,
verbal diarrhea sometimes.
that's totally fine by me. Well, that's going to do it for our time today. Thank you so much for doing this interview. You certainly didn't have to, and you've been really great to me this whole process. So thank you very much.
Honored. Now you're a Tigers fan.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, I'll talk slower. No, I'm kidding.
Oh,
That's a great
come
dude. I'm a
on.
Red Sox fan, and we are in a dumpster fire right now. So who am I to throw stones at your beloved Tigers? They're an awesome franchise, an awesome team, and I respect the hell out of them.
Yeah.
But I have to make fun of them. Thank
Oh, of
God you're not
course.
a Yankee
Yeah.
fan, because then
Oh,
we couldn't talk.
no, I wouldn't do that.
They beat us last night. The Yankees beat us in our park,
Oh,
and the Celtics lost last night at home. Not in a good place. But these guys were pretty good this year. Made it
They
all the way to
were
the Super
all
Bowl.
the way to the Super Bowl.
And
Yeah.
yeah, so and the Bruins are still alive. So who knows? We'll
All
see
right.
what happens.
Yeah, things can turn around on a dime. That's for sure.
They sure can.
All right. Do you have any social media that you want to plug, or any tour dates, show dates that you want to plug here at the end?
Yeah. My website is tomcotter.com. It's very easy to find. My dates are usually up there. My Facebook fan page is full of dates as well and clips, funny clips. Please check that out. I promise you'll laugh. My social media goddess is very good about taking little chunks of my act and putting them up in little doses. So if you're ADD like me, 30 seconds, laugh, boom, gone.
Yeah.
So I'm on Instagram, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Facebook, on a couple of pages, and I'm on TikTok, obviously, all those places that I
Thing.
swore I'd never be. It's a necessary evil now for what we do. You
Yeah,
have to be out there doing this stuff, and it puts asses in seats. So I'll keep doing it.
all right. Well, thank you so much, Tom, and we are gonna send it back to me in the studio.
All right, thanks, Lucas.
Yeah.